Hello everyone, and welcome to my first video. Today I'm going to be reviewing Busch Gardens Tampa, which is in Tampa Bay, Florida. Busch Gardens is located outside of Tampa in a large city block. It has a safari, it's got all kinds of stuff. It has 9 roller coasters. It's really a great spot to bring your family. Getting tickets to Busch Gardens Tampa will cost you about $90 for a one-day ticket, which I think is fair for Florida, including the Orlando parks, which will run you insane prices. So for $90, I think that's fair for what you're getting. To get a season pass, which is what they call a fun card, it's about $120, which is a great deal, because even if you go twice, you're still getting your money back. Now, when you park at Busch Gardens Tampa, I think it costs you like $20 or something. You're going to be put in these big lots, and then you're going to have to take a tram, or you can walk all the way to the front gate. It'll usually be about a 5-minute walk, or you can wait for the tram, which is a classic risk because the tram could arrive early or it could arrive super late. So we walked, but I have taken the tram before because I have been here multiple times. And the front gate of this park is beautiful. It's all African themed, and all the ticket stalls are all nice and clean. You're not going to really have any problems with the front gate. There's all kinds of posters and stuff up as well. When you go through the front gate, the popular direction to turn is right. No one really goes to the left because all the big and fun roller coasters are to the right. So if you turn to the right, you'll see some alligators to your left and then a big old show building to your right, which I don't think I've ever gone in, to be honest. The first roller coaster you'll see is Cheetah Hunt, which is one of my personal favorites. There's a big old Cheetah Hunt plaza, and everyone always runs there, and it's always got a huge line. So that pretty much sucks. But the ride is really great. I'll do a mini review of all the major coasters, and I consider Cheetah Hunt a major coaster. So you'll start off with a launch out of the station, then you'll turn left, and then a big old launch into a figure 8 up in the air. The launches are super forceful, so that's great, but I can't really say that the figure 8 does much. It doesn't, the view is okay, but it doesn't do too much. But then you'll drop down, again, not too much airtime, and then you'll go through a straightaway, go up, and eventually you'll go into a barrel roll, do some turns around a river, hit another launch, a camelback, and then come back. Overall, I'd give it about an 8.5 out of 10. A great introductory coaster for kids who just want their first inversion but don't want anything too bad. And I think it's still fun for thrill seekers, and honestly, it's one of my favorites at the park. The next coaster is Cobra's Curse. I've only ridden it once, and it was a while ago, but I did get a lot of great footage for it, so I'm going to talk about it. It's a spinning coaster for mock rides that has a crazy cool elevator lift, and then you go face to Fang with a cobra. I don't know how tall it is, but it's pretty dang tall, because you go right up next to it, then you take a drop, and there's some bridges where pedestrians can go over you. You kind of just spin around, and then eventually you'll go up a lift backwards or whatever, and you'll spin around some more. Just a classic spinning coaster, and a great coaster for the family with kids. Couple more things about this ride. It always has a long line, just because the capacity ain't that great. Although it does have a moving loading station, and the operations aren't that bad. But just because you can only seat 4 people for each cart, it can never really be that great with that capacity. Another thing, though, is that while it is a long wait, the queue is the best themed in the park. There's a whole theme about, these Egyptians, and they have this cobra god, and I don't really understand what's going on, but there's a presentation room that I did not get footage of, but it's very cool, and I'm pretty sure there's, another language that I'm supposed to learn to know what's going on. It's all this crazy stuff. If you like knowing all that kind of stuff, you're gonna love this ride. I don't, but I still like the ride. So moving on to Montu. Now, Montu was unfortunately closed, but I have ridden it before, but it was 2 years ago when I wasn't really as big of a coaster enthusiast back then. So what I remember from it was that it had great Egyptian-themed trenches, the station wasn't really themed, and I thought my feet were going to get cut off because of all the feet choppers. I do remember the batwing being super intense, and I do remember it being one of my favorite coasters in the park, but unfortunately that's all I really have for Montu. So then if you loop back around, there's a big old white building, and that's the Serengeti Overlook Cafe, which has some tables that overlook the Serengeti. So funny story, I got this pickle because we had the dining plan, and I don't know, I like pickles, man. And there were some seagulls there, and the seagull tried to eat my pickle off the table, and the table had a good laugh about it. So watch out for the birds at the Serengeti Overlook Cafe. I don't even know if they were seagulls or not, but they'll steal your food. I mean, they weren't scared of us at all. But again, it's just kind of classic theme park food, and the Serengeti, I mean, it's a Serengeti, man. It's nice. You can look at all like the giraffes and all the other animals they have over there. So, great cafe. Watch out for the birds. So, after you are done eating, if you have eaten, you're going to walk through this little narrow pathway that crosses through the train. And there is a train at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay, and it is a transportation train. So, I think there's a station in Nairobi, there's a station in the Congo, and there's a station in Stanleyville. I don't think the one in Congo was running the day that we went, just because of like COVID, I think, or something like that. So we did only get the 2 stops, but I mean the train was packed. There was a big old line in the Nairobi station, but we did do the train, and I mean it went through the Serengeti. Gave you great photo ops. So yeah, I would recommend the train, but it does kind of drop you off in an inconvenient spot with Nairobi. It doesn't really have anything. It's got like one food spot, and then it has some elephants, but I don't think it has a single ride, so beware of that. Anyways, about that path, it'll lead you through this aquarium, and that aquarium's got a hippo, and it's got tons of other fish, and everyone was really liking the hippo. I don't know if everyone just likes hippos, if that's just kind of an unwritten law of life, but everyone was looking at the hippo. There he goes there, and I mean, if you just want to check him out, then you can check him out, keep on going. There was also a crocodile that I did not get a video of, but then if you walk after that, then you'll run into Nairobi. Now, again, I'm not trying to make this a Nairobi hate page, but this is totally a Nairobi hate page. There's literally just a train station and some elephants, and the elephants are on like the very edge of Nairobi. And I think there's something else there, but I think it's an upcharge attraction, so I didn't even look at that thing, but I think it's something about like an animal care center or something. So that's probably really important, but not really for a guest, so I would just kind of skip out on Nairobi if I were you. Now next up we have Pantopia, which is pretty much the heart of the park. So when you walk in, there's a big old gate that says Pantopia, and you can see Falcon's Fury towering over it. I really love Pantopia, if you couldn't tell. There's a big eatery to the left that has shows. It's called like the Dragon Fire place or something like that. Really good food. We did not eat there, unfortunately, but we have in the past, and I can personally recommend it. They have a big old carousel, and everything's lit up at night. And Falcon's Fury has this scream when it hits the bottom, and I like it. Some people hated it, they said it was annoying, but I really think it's dope, and you can really hear it just kind of echoing throughout the park, and it just kind of leaves its mark on you, you know? There's also Sand Serpent, which is a wild mouse, which I do not have the credit of, because it was down all the other times, and then this time, I'm not waiting 45 minutes for a wild mouse credit. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do that. They did have a big gift shop. It was like the painted camel, I think. It had all kinds of stuff. It had like tiger walking sticks and lion walking sticks and lots of like dresses and just stuff that you wouldn't find at a regular, like, I don't know, Six Flags or Cedar Fair or SeaWorld gift shop. Honestly, I couldn't even find anything like that in the Busch Gardens Williamsburg Park, so super unique there. Plus one for them if you like anything that's kind of Pantopia-like. I don't really know what that means, but you can tell from this like video of me just walking around, it's some pretty cool stuff for a theme park. They also have a vintage Schwarzkopf looper with one loop and 2 helixes called Scorpion. I rode it a while back. It was pretty intense, I do have to say that. Not that the loop was intense, that meant the double helixes at the end were intense, surprisingly. And it actually, I think it was the most intense I've ever felt. But I was only like about 10 at the time, so that's not really saying too much. At the end of Pantopia, to leave, there's an elevated pathway that leads you right into the Congo, which is where Kumba and the bumper cars are. Now these bumper cars are super popular for some reason. They're called the You Banga Banga bumper cars, which I just think is a great name. But then anyways, Kumba, the main attraction. Now I can go on and on about how much this ride was a roller coaster of emotions for me, because I used to hate it and think it was rough, and I would just lie to everyone saying that I liked it. But in reality, I really hated it for some reason. But then I rode it again this year, finally giving up to all the hype I'd heard about it. And oh my gosh! I got a night ride on this thing since it was a walk-on, and holy crap, I really love Kumba. Every time you go into a valley, you're getting crushed with positive G's, and all the loops feel like they're bigger than they should be, but you somehow carry so much speed through all of them. I think I'm going to release a full review for this ride, because I really love it, and I also really like the name Kumba. If you couldn't tell, I really like names of rides, and how they coordinate to their own ride. And I think Kumba is just a great name for it. Don't know what it means, but again, it just sounds great. And of course, there's the iconic angle of those double corkscrews. I could just go on and on about this ride and how great it is, but I'm not going to bore you, so let's move on. The next area up is Jungala, which is pretty much the premier kids area in Busch Gardens. It's these huge treehouse forts that all your kids can run across, and there's these big cargo net suspension bridges. It's a kid's paradise pretty much, and I loved it when I was younger. Although, this time, it was closed because that would totally not be safe for COVID. There are lots of major touch points, and I don't really know how it's going to be safe if COVID-19 keeps going on. But again, lots of great stuff here. A few, like a mini drop tower, and there's a big old splash pad there too. And in the back corner, there's some tigers, which we saw. One of them was eating something. I don't know what he was doing, but he was digging in. So yeah, nice little walkway. Some cool tigers, and a great spot for your kids. You're going to be spending a lot of time here if you have some kids. If you take the path along, then you'll see Stanleyville, which is home to the Stanleyville Log Flume, Tigers, which is new for 2019, which is a premier Skyrocket 2 clone, and then Sheikah, which is the tallest coaster in the park. As of Sheikah, the crowds will all come to Sheikah because it's the tallest one and it hangs over the drop, and that's so scary and so dangerous. So you'll probably see a long line for Sheikah and Tigers as well, just because, well, they're already there, they might as well hit Tigers as well. But you're never really going to see a long line for the Log Flume unless it's in the middle of summer, because then you'll have Florida heat and everyone's trying to beat the heat. But when I was there, in about the middle of February, I was able to go on the Log Flume a couple of times. Now Tigers, I'm not going to go too in-depth just because it's a Skyrocket 2 clone. Just kind of launches forward, launches backward, launches forward, barrel roll, and then you drop, and then a little non-inverted loop thing, and then you go back to the station. Yada yada yada, it's just another clone. Sheikah, which is the most prominent coaster at Busch Gardens Tampa, goes up, and then it goes down. But before it goes down, it'll hold you there for about 5 seconds, where all the GP can get scared out of their minds, and all the enthusiasts can just wish that they could have carried that speed down the drop for more airtime. Then you'll go down, go into an Immelman, and then straight into a mid-course brake run, where you'll then drop again 90 degrees straight down, and then go into an overbank turn, into a splashdown, which doesn't splash anyone because everyone's too smart for that nowadays. Then it'll go into a helix, and then back into the brake run. A pretty short but sweet ride, but the feeling of speed really can't be matched with anything else in the park, so a must ride if you're there. Now I could talk about the Sesame Land, but I don't have any footage for it, and it's not that interesting, so instead I'm going to talk about Ironwazi. Now I don't have much to talk about here, but I mean, it's Ironwazi. What can I not talk about? The death roll, all the airtime, 91 degree drop, that's a beyond vertical drop, on an RMC hybrid coaster. This is going to be nuts. I'm excited. All I got was some crappy night footage, but I hope you guys can appreciate just how awesome this is going to be for this park and for RMC. So in summary, you should totally visit Busch Gardens Tampa. It's the only amusement park in Tampa, and it can totally compete with all the other parks in Orlando with not being as expensive. It's got a great African theme that rolls around the entire park, 9 great coasters, not a single one of them is bad, and a lot of supporting flat rides that really round out the lineup. I give this park a 9.5 out of 10.